It is so clear Blake's case is falling apart. She's destroying her cred.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are reportedly in full meltdown mode as their private secrets continue to surface, thanks to online investigators and creators who aren't buying into Blake's carefully polished Hollywood image. The persona she spent years building is starting to crack under the weight of leaked receipts and growing skepticism.
Lively's attorney is now warning content creators.
In today's digital age, nothing stays buried for long, and it seems Blake forgot that crucial detail. Before trying to paint Justin Baldoni in a negative light, perhaps she should have realized that every move she makes can and will resurface online.
They know that they've completely lost.
Now, both Blake and Ryan are scrambling to contain the fallout, acting like A-listers who just realized the law doesn't bend for celebrity status. They're allegedly fighting to keep their private group chats under wraps, terrified that the world might see what really goes on in those star-studded message threads, because to them, that public embarrassment might be even worse than the lawsuit itself.
Information, or if your co-stars end up not supporting you, that all is private? And then what? We don't get to know that? No.
And then came Blake's public reality check in court. A Manhattan judge delivered a dose of humility, reminding her that when you demand a $250 million trial, you can't also expect the privilege of secrecy. She wanted the spotlight, and now she has to face it. What's more, reports claim she's been lashing out behind the scenes, allegedly warning journalists and content creators to back off, as if threats could rewrite the narrative.
Yeah, Blake Lively's attorney is now warning content creators that are parroting Justin Baldoni's lie.
That's how desperate she's become to keep control of the story. Instead of cooling the chaos, these intimidation tactics are only backfiring. Evidence continues to spill into the public eye, and her once immaculate PR image is unraveling faster than ever. The fantasy she sold for years is falling apart piece by piece, and there's no PR spin strong enough to glue it back together.
They're trying to say, like, we are allowed to have confidentiality because this is an SH claim, and therefore it's so important that it must be secret. We must control and protect everyone.
Meanwhile, Blake and Ryan are said to be having a full-blown panic behind closed doors. They've gone as far as begging the court for a special protective order, insisting their personal messages deserve top-level security, as if they're safeguarding classified information instead of celebrity gossip.
Blake's asking for too much, in my opinion. She wants all celebrity correspondence to be private. It's called AEO, which is Attorney's Eyes.
The judge, however, wasn't buying it. When Blake's attorney claimed those texts had high PR value, the courtroom's patience reportedly wore thin. Translation: if the messages leak, her reputation could take a massive hit. The irony is impossible to ignore. Blake herself included Justin's texts in her initial lawsuit, and now she's fighting to keep the rest hidden. And the drama doesn't stop there. Word is, she's deeply anxious about who else might be pulled into the storm, starting with her close friend Taylor Swift. Sources say Blake sees Taylor as her fierce protector, like a mythical dragon ready to breathe fire on anyone who threatens her. But in this real-life courtroom saga, even her powerful allies might not be enough to shield her from the fallout that's only just beginning. In one of the leaked texts, Blake Lively jokingly claims she has her own dragons, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, ready to defend her. It's a strange flex that quickly became the talk of the courtroom. But her so-called circle of protectors doesn't stop there. Names like Hugh Jackman, Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, and Gigi Hadid have also surfaced, as if anyone who's ever shared brunch with Blake might now find themselves wrapped up in this unfolding legal fiasco. And then there's Bradley Cooper, whose reputation has been spotless lately. The last thing he needs is his name attached to this Hollywood circus. Unfortunately for him, Blake's legal storm doesn't seem to discriminate. Observers inside the courtroom noted that Blake appeared increasingly anxious about her celebrity contacts being dragged into the case. She reportedly urged her lawyers to block the names at all costs, desperate to keep her friends out of the line of fire. But despite her team's efforts, the day belonged to Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman. While Blake's 5-person legal squad tripped over one another's arguments, Friedman stood alone, calm and razor-sharp. With precise, cutting statements, he dismantled their defense piece by piece, reminding the court that fame isn't a shield. As he put it, celebrities aren't special, play foolish games, and you'll face the consequences. Even the judge seemed unimpressed with Lively's side. The contrast between the two teams was hard to ignore. Blake's lawyers appeared flustered and disorganized, while Friedman was composed and relentless. At one point, he called Blake's entire argument offensive, emphasizing that ordinary citizens don't get to hide evidence just because it might make them look bad. His confidence and clarity cut straight through the chaos, and for once, the spotlight was no longer on Blake's charm, but on her unraveling defense. The judge sided with Friedman's argument, firmly stating that fame doesn't equal immunity. No one, no matter how famous, gets to bend the rules of justice. While Blake's legal team fumbled under pressure, Friedman delivered his points with precision and calm authority, never once losing composure. Observers in the courtroom noted the sharp contrast. Her attorneys seemed flustered and scattered, while Friedman's confidence carried the day. But if Blake's anxiety was high before, it skyrocketed after that hearing. She's no longer just battling in court, she's allegedly lashing out online. Reports claim she's gone on a quiet crusade against YouTubers, journalists, and independent commentators who continue dissecting her case in real time. And while her lawyer insists that certain case details should remain for attorneys' eyes only to limit sensational headlines, critics argue it's really about controlling the narrative. Blake's camp has allegedly sent legal threats to multiple outlets, attempting to silence online voices that won't stick to her version of events. The irony. This isn't a decade ago. Shutting down stories doesn't work in the age of digital transparency. Content creators are uncovering every new filing, every text, and every contradiction faster than any PR firm can respond. The harder she pushes for secrecy, the more attention she draws. Adding to the tension, new court documents suggest Blake is deeply worried about her celebrity network being exposed. Ironically, that very filing intended to protect her privacy is now being reported everywhere, from major outlets to the same creators she's allegedly trying to silence. The more she hides, the louder the conversation gets. Commentators have also pointed out the double standard. If privacy were truly her priority, why did she once allow public jokes about her personal life on national television? The contradiction has only fueled speculation that there's more she doesn't want revealed. And then there's the deeper irony. This isn't the first time Blake and Ryan have faced accusations of burying unflattering stories. Industry whispers suggest that years ago, both allegedly pressured media outlets not to publish details about when their relationship actually began, rumors that pointed to overlap with Ryan's previous marriage to Scarlett Johansson. One former journalist even claimed that a tabloid story exposing the real timeline was pulled after threats from their PR teams. Now, more than a decade later, that old playbook doesn't work. The internet isn't controlled by a handful of editors anymore, it's powered by millions of independent voices who can't be silenced with phone calls or legal warnings. And that's exactly what's driving Blake to panic. Her strategy of secrecy is backfiring spectacularly. Each attempt to suppress information only amplifies public distrust. What was once a polished Hollywood image now looks increasingly calculated. And the more she fights to keep the truth buried, the more the world starts to see the cracks in her carefully crafted story. Blake Lively is fighting harder than ever to keep her private text messages locked away, and at this point, the struggle itself is becoming its own spectacle. These aren't harmless exchanges or polite check-ins. By all accounts, they're central to the entire case. Everyone in the courtroom seems to know it. Blake knows it, the judge knows it, and Justin Baldoni's team certainly knows it. While her attorneys insist they just want to avoid releasing unrelated messages, their frantic efforts to bury the evidence suggest otherwise. The real question is, what's in those texts that she's so desperate to hide? Observers have speculated everything from unfiltered comments about Baldoni to harsh remarks about fellow celebrities, even private conversations outlining how her team might twist the lawsuit into a brave woman takes a stand media narrative. The judge, however, isn't buying the performance. Judge Lyman has already made it clear that this is a matter of public interest, meaning the evidence will eventually come out. Yet Blake continues to push back, clinging to the illusion that her fame entitles her to secrecy. It's an exhausting charade that even the court seems to be running out of patience for. Her team has also raised concerns about her mental health records being part of the proceedings, suddenly shifting the focus to her emotional well-being, a classic Hollywood move to reclaim sympathy. But Baldoni's lawyer, Brian Friedman, cut straight through the theatrics, reminding the court that celebrities don't get special privileges. "You started this," he said. "Now open the door and let it all come out." His point landed hard. Blake's public persona has always been her strongest armor, and now it's her greatest liability. This entire spectacle also reopens the cracks in her and Ryan Reynolds' supposedly perfect Hollywood timeline. 4 years, they've maintained a spotless love story, claiming they only began dating after Green Lantern wrapped and after Ryan's divorce from Scarlett Johansson was finalized. But according to journalists who investigated the story years ago, that's not exactly true. Reports allege the two were secretly meeting in a New Orleans hotel while Ryan was still married to Scarlett. When tabloids got wind of it, Blake's PR team allegedly intervened, threatening outlets and successfully killing the story before it ever saw print. Overnight, a potential scandal vanished, replaced by a polished narrative of two stars falling in love at the right time. Even Scarlett Johansson never publicly addressed that chapter, choosing grace over gossip. Still, fans noticed her subtle references in later interviews, comments about competition and blurred boundaries that many believed were thinly veiled nods to that very situation. It's this long history of selective storytelling that makes Blake's current crisis so fascinating. Her dating history, from Penn Badgley to Leonardo DiCaprio and Ryan Gosling, reads like a string of career-adjacent relationships, each one wrapped neatly into her evolving image. Now, the lawsuit threatens to expose how much of that image was orchestrated behind the scenes. 4 years, Blake and Ryan's PR machine worked like clockwork, planting flattering pieces, shutting down negative coverage, and shaping their brand as Hollywood's golden couple. But this time, the internet isn't cooperating. Independent journalists and content creators are dissecting every filing, pulling every receipt, and breaking down every inconsistency. Blake can't control this narrative the way she once did, and the harder she tries, the worse she looks. Meanwhile, Baldoni's camp isn't wasting time on optics. They're focused on the law, not on magazine headlines. While Blake's attorneys appear rattled, Baldoni's side looks composed and strategic. In the latest hearing, Friedman once again dominated the courtroom, dismantling her team's arguments in minutes. His blunt statement, "Celebrities don't get special treatment. You started this. Now deal with it," left the room silent. Witnesses say you could feel the air shift as Blake's lawyers stumbled over weak justifications while the judge reminded them that Blake filed this lawsuit herself. "You can't declare war," he implied, and then complain about the battle. By that point, even the judge seemed weary of the endless attempts to spin the case into something it's not. Blake's lawyers looked like a PR team lost in a legal world, nervous, unsteady, and out of their depth, while Baldoni's side exuded quiet control. Behind the scenes, sources claim Blake is furious, demanding answers from her legal team about why this hasn't disappeared the way scandals used to. But this time, there's no press blackout, no phone calls to editors to make the problem go away. The lawsuit has become a window into how Hollywood really works, a system built on image management, controlled narratives, and the illusion of integrity. 4 years, Blake and Ryan were the masters of that illusion. Now, the mask is slipping. The courtroom isn't a movie set, and the audience watching this play out online isn't buying the performance. Blake Lively's meltdown has officially gone nuclear. After losing control on the Deadpool set, she's now losing control of her entire narrative. What started as a lawsuit is quickly turning into a Hollywood exposé, one that's peeling back the curtain on how A-listers manipulate the media, bury stories, and threaten anyone who dares to question them. Insiders say Blake's not just fighting a legal battle, she's fighting to protect the illusion that her PR team has carefully built for years. The same glossy image that sold her as America's sweetheart is now collapsing in real time, and her own team allegedly knows it. Even her lawyers, according to people close to the case, don't sound convinced. One insider joked, "They're just trying to survive Blake's wrath while she screams about protecting Taylor Swift." And the irony: while Blake was crying to a judge about privacy and reputation, Ryan Reynolds was on Saturday Night Live making jokes about her legal disaster. Imagine that, her husband turning her biggest crisis into late-night comedy. Fans weren't amused. "He's mocking something serious," one commenter said. "It's tone deaf." At what point does Ryan realize this isn't just bad PR, it's career poison? Because let's face it, Hollywood loves a comeback story, but it also loves a conveniently timed breakup. If Blake keeps spiraling, don't be surprised when Ryan suddenly focuses on work and needs space. It wouldn't be the first time a Hollywood couple quietly distances themselves when things get too messy. But here's what Blake still doesn't seem to understand: this isn't 2011 anymore. You can't just call up magazine editors and kill a story. The internet doesn't work like that. Every filing, every leaked message, every desperate attempt to control the press is being exposed by YouTubers, journalists, and independent creators, people Hollywood can't silence. The more she fights to keep it quiet, the louder the story gets. Every legal threat, every motion to protect privacy, just fuels more curiosity. She's become her own worst enemy, a real-life version of her A Simple Favor character, hiding secrets behind a perfect smile. And just like in that movie, the truth is finally catching up. To make matters worse, a newly surfaced court document revealed Blake's biggest fear: her celebrity connections being dragged into the case. The same A-list names she's desperate to protect, Taylor Swift, Hugh Jackman, Bradley Cooper, Emily Blunt, are reportedly all being mentioned. And trust me, none of them want this smoke. Behind the scenes, PR teams are scrambling, doing everything they can to keep their stars far away from Blake's implosion. Meanwhile, content creators are doing what the mainstream media won't, digging up the receipts, exposing the hypocrisy, and refusing to be silenced. Hollywood's old-school PR machine is dead. The power has shifted. And Blake's public unraveling is proof that no amount of celebrity privilege can stop the truth from coming out. So what happens next?